Easy for you to say, Paul. Wow, that was my best opening ever. Uh-huh. Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert. I'm Steve Glenn.
I'm Paul Glenn.
Hey, we come to you every week on Tuesdays. We usually send out 100,000 emails to people that we've been sending out now for, Paul, 30 plus years.
30 plus years. Not always email.
Not always email. It used to be a fax 30 some years ago. We've been in this business 40 years. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary. Mm-hmm. Paul's the CEO of Executive Travel. And I'm the chairman. We're glad you're joining us. Last week we celebrated our 100th podcast.
Yeah.
Celebrate, huh?
You do the singing. I don't do the singing around here.
Hey, we're having fun talking travel. Nothing's more fun than talking travel. Today we've got a great show. Paul, we've put together the top 10 lists of where people are saying they want to travel this winter. Mm-hmm. So this is always
which is upon us. I think Ryan and I were talking before you came here today. You know, if you don't have the heat on in your house, you're now waking up and it's a little chilly and you want to stay snuggled in. So it's time to start thinking of that winter trip to get you somewhere warm.
We love when the weather changes because that makes people think about what they're going to do travel-wise
to get a break
for the next season. Yep. So now people are putting on their thinking caps as what they're going to do for Thanksgiving, mm-hmm. Christmas vacations, New Year's. I know we're even planning a cool New Year's trip to Italy to celebrate New Year's Eve in Italy. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to come up with a list of the top 10 places. And I got smart. I said, I'm going to start with number 10 this time.
And we're going to go the countdown.
Yeah, do the countdown approach to this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert. Here we go. Number 10. Dubai. This is one of my favorite places in all the world, and if you can travel there in the winter, it's not the good place to be in the summer, but in the winter, it's an amazing place. I always have my two favorites are the Burj Al Arab, which is the sail-looking mm-hmm. hotel, 6-star. Rooms are like $2,500 a night.
Did you have an event that you were hosting there once?
I actually got to stay there once.
You were in a 2-story suite, weren't you?
2-story suite, and oh my gosh, everything was fancy-pantsy, a little bit fancy for me.
I usually like seeing the videos that you send because that usually means that it's above and beyond if you're getting excited about something like that. But that one was probably the most amazing hotel room I've ever seen in my life.
But I really didn't like the 2-story thing because if somebody came and knocked on your door and said, hey, we're bringing you something, you had to get up, go down the stairs, and it took you like 2 minutes to get down there. So
problems. You've got problems. You couldn't just have your butler go get it for you?
No butler. So he was the guy knocking on the door. And then also I also like the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. I'll tell you, one year I flew from L.A. to Dubai on the double-decker Emirates mm-hmm. Airbus 380, went up the Burj Khalifa, had lunch, came back down, got on a flight, went back. And so I did that. That's part of the craziness when I wanted to test out the Airbus 380. I would add that Dubai is just amazing. So many 5-star hotels, so many great restaurants. It makes you go there and you dream big dreams.
What's the museum you like to go to? The Museum of the Future?
Of the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always fun. It does make you dream big dreams. So with that, number 9. This is on a lot of people's bucket list, but it is a little bit expensive. I wrote down South Africa, Kenya, and Tanzania, basically African safaris. And if you think about it, when it's cold here on the other side of the earth, it's warmer, it's good to see. You can also get in on some of in the Masai Mara and the great migration that you can see that goes on in that area. So I had that as number 9 this year. I know that's on your bucket list with Faith, isn't it?
With Faith, and I've got a friend that has gone dozens of times, and so we had dinner a couple weeks ago and we were chatting about it. So we're trying to actually maybe get it in the works here over the next year or two.
Oh, that'd be fun. That's number 9 on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, to the top 10 places people want to head to this winter internationally. Number 8 is Australia and New Zealand. Good day, mate.
Another shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah, shrimp on the barbie. As once again, when it's cold up here, it's warm. It's opposite there. So it's a good time to hit spring when you go there. Now,
and that's a good one. You want to make sure you've got for both. Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, and Australia and New Zealand, you got to make sure you've got enough time to get there, relax, and enjoy.
You need 3 weeks.
Because you're traveling such a distance to get there.
It's almost 2 days to get there and 2 days to get home. And so you better plan at least 3 weeks.
A couple weeks at least.
Now, this is going to sound weird. Most people talk about Australia, but I actually think New Zealand's more beautiful.
That's what everybody that has come back and we've sat down with after the fact that has done both, they would say that New Zealand is definitely the more beautiful of the two.
Yeah, but so that's a great one to put on your bucket list. And once again, it's a little more pricey. And also, if you're going to go that far, you need to save your shekels and book business class, because that flight's like 17 hours.
It's a long flight.
It's a long flight. Hey, number 7 on this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert of the top 10 places people want to travel to internationally during the winter months. This one's going to surprise some people. Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam. Remember that there was
Robin
a movie,
Williams.
Robin Williams, yeah. Now, actually, this one has been an up-and-comer now for almost 10 years. But
you did it on a cruise, didn't you?
I've done it on a cruise, and boy, there's some amazing. The Ha Long Bay is just breathless. Probably one of the most beautiful areas in the world. And then, of course, Da Nang and all these different areas. And, of course, Vietnam is kind of, China shifted down to Vietnam as far as manufacturing.
Over the last 5 years.
Yeah, over the last 5 to 10 years. And so you're seeing Vietnam, of course, there's always had an American influence because we had the troops there during the war.
There, yeah.
So it's got a good feel for Americans, English speaking, and some of the best sand beaches in the world are there. So put Vietnam on your list if you basically are looking to travel into that Southeast Asia
new and different
region. And I can't think of a better place other than maybe Hong Kong, and I didn't put that on the list this year. So with that, number 6, this is the old and golden one that has to be probably on most people's list.
Now, it's not international. I think everything else is international.
Well, I had to throw something on there that didn't take a passport.
Okay.
All right. So I threw in number 6, Hawaii. The islands have their own personality. You've got Maui, Kauai, the big island with the volcanoes. And, of course, Oahu has all the tourist attractions.
All the history with Pearl Harbor and
Diamond,
those,
and Diamondback and all that stuff that's you got to see. The USS Arizona and all the things that you see in Oahu. But actually, it's become pretty affordable to get over there. There's a lot of flights.
$600 is what I've been seeing. So, yeah, I mean, it's very reasonable to get over to Hawaii, and it's really not that long of a flight. You know, if you jump from Omaha to the West Coast, and then you get another 4 or 5 hour flight over the water from there. So it's for getting someplace that's going to be exotic of sorts, it's not too tough to get to.
Yeah, and it's a tropical. It always has that tropical breeze, with the luau's. It's just that exotic feel to it that a lot of people love. So you got to almost always put this on the list, even though I did cheat and it is in a U.S. state.
But a great way to do Hawaii, especially if you haven't ever done it, and because each island does have its own personality, the cruises. Yeah. The cruises are a great way to hit Hawaii, get a little bit of the flavor of each island, and then you'll figure out, what is it that you would want to go back and expand that experience of.
Now, number 5 is probably going to surprise people, because when you say winter getaways, you oftentimes think of warm winter getaways. Mm-hmm. Number 5 is a cool winter getaway, Iceland. And believe it or not, people are of course, in the summer, Iceland is just overrun with tourists. But in the wintertime, it's one of the best times to see the Northern Lights.
Probably a great value.
Great value. You can see things that you'd never see, like a waterfall that's frozen over. Mm-hmm. You can visit the volcanoes, the ice caves. And really, it's a short flight, and the flights are inexpensive. So if you're thinking of something very, very unique, want to kind of go against the flow, against the crowds, then you can put Iceland on your list. Mm-hmm. That's a sneaky one.
There we go.
Okay, number 4 on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler, Southern Europe. And as you know, Paul, this is where I love to travel. I put down Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Greece. And this is a great time because the prices are great. The crowds are gone.
Crowds are gone.
Right? And you can often see these countries with locals this time of year. But there are some negatives. Sometimes some of the places are closed.
When we did Portugal, I've done both Portugal and Italy during the winter, and what we found was tended to be about 50% of the restaurants would be open. And so, if you are going for a culinary experience, it may not be the right time to go. But if you're going to not have to fight the crowds, to be able to get a great value, I know we stayed in. I want to say it was Portugal, and we were at a Marriott for under $100 a night, and it was a 500-room resort, and there were maybe 10 rooms occupied.
Oh my gosh!
So breakfast, everything we had the place to ourselves, and they upgraded us because we were one of the few guests there. So we ended up with a great room. And
hey, where do I sign up, man? I'm ready. You're getting me ready. But
the thing we did, and a memory that I will always have. Because the restaurants were shut down and everything kind of shut down at night. So there wasn't the nightlife that there would have been during the summer. So didn't know anything about port wine. We went to a little store and we got a taster pack that had 5 different types of port wine. And we took that back to the room for the night and we did our own tasting of port wines. And it made the experience of Portugal something I'll remember forever.
Well, we're talking about the top 10 list of places to visit in the winter, and we've gotten down to now number 3. I have is Costa Rica. And Costa Rica has been blossoming for the last 10 years, and now the infrastructure is catching up. The hotels are catching up. Even the potholes are starting to go away.
That was always the challenge down there. You had to have a Jeep as a rental.
You could lose a whole rental car in a pothole in Costa Rica, and now things are getting better. They're getting some tourist dollars to help support that area. And so, you've got Central America. You can get there quickly. The hotel infrastructure is built up. You've got just amazing canopy of all types of birds and
monkeys. The monkeys outside the hotel rooms was one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. So
and of course that's the eco lodges, wellness resorts. It's really kind of been the place that people graduated from, I call Mexico, down there that wanted to not travel too far east.
And it's also become an investment destination. You got a lot of people here, especially local Midwest, that they've got homes down there. So I think that's something where it's a little more stable than some of the other Central America type countries. Yep.
The geopolitical side of things. Number 2 on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler is the top 10 places for getaways this year. Now, number 2 is one that was often number 1, but I moved it down to number 2, and that's Mexico. Of course, we know that with Cancun. We know it with on the other side with
Cabo, San Lucas.
You've got it Cozumel. You've got all these all-inclusive resorts. You've got it because a lot of people in the U.S. can travel there and be on the beach by just after lunch.
By 2 o'clock, yeah.
And the prices have been great. So with that, we've seen just this strong growth over the last 30 years of travel to Mexico for the winter, and we'll continue on. But I moved it down a little bit because it seems like it's losing a little of its cachet.
I think it's got, if you're looking for the value and the sun and fun, it's a good destination for those two things. But if you're looking for something, if you've been there and done that, then, or if as when I was 20 years ago, the sun and fun was great and that all-inclusive where you didn't have to worry about what the credit card tab was after the fact. But once you get to a certain point in life and laying on the beach and getting a sunburn and drinking all day, you want to go get that cultural experience, which ties into what you've got for number 1. That is kind of that next step up, which is why I agree with you transitioning and doing the flip-flop here and putting Mexico at number 2, because I now appreciate the next one better than I do Mexico.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the number one?
The drum roll.
The drum roll. For the number one destination that we obviously think people want to travel to in the winter of 2025. And it should be no surprise because I put down the whole category of the Caribbean islands. And I listed 5, although these may not be my favorite, but they have a lot of velocity to them in the list. Of course, Jamaica's been around and was probably the home of the all-inclusive.
It was kind of the start,
40 years ago or something. And so they've got that reggae vibe to them. The Dominican Republic has really come on because of the all-inclusive resorts, cheap resorts. Yep. You can do a week there for very inexpensively. But there's just not much there unless you want to sand beach all the time, 24/7. Then you've got the Turks and Caicos I put down there, followed by Belize. And now my cousins, Roger and Nancy, say Anguilla is the hot place that you can travel, take a little boat there, and not too many tourists. So the Caribbean islands, of course, have that tropical feel.
Does Aruba count as Caribbean?
Yeah,
does it? Even though it's just off. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's
it does
too
take
hot
a little.
for me.
Takes a little longer to get there, but that's a fun island because they've got kind of the hotel and where everybody lives on one side, then the other side's a desert. And so I love the off-roading opportunities when you get to a place like Aruba.
Yeah, and you've got Puerto Rico.
I was going to say San Juan, Puerto Rico. That doesn't require a passport. So going back to what are alternative options that don't require a passport, San Juan's a great place, and they've got some beautiful resorts down there.
And then you've got the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, and all those. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's St. Martin. You've got all those. And, of course, everyone knows that there's all those 7-day vacation cruises. They go from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and you can hit the Bahamas with cruises out of Orlando or Fort Lauderdale. Yep. So there's so much to do in the Caribbean. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our list this year of the top 10 destinations for you to travel to in the winter of 2025. I kind of kept them middle of the road. I mean, I don't have really those weird one-offs that people say that's the hot new trend. Well, it could be a hot new trend, but if only 1,000 people go to it, I figure that's kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. So I didn't really come up with those that are micro niches. Yeah, I came up with kind of the standard in the middle of the road type of destinations for this year. We're glad you joined us on this week's edition of the Weekly Traveler. I'm Steve Glenn.
And I'm Paul Glenn. Please like, subscribe, share, and add any comments or feedback on topics that would be of interest for future episodes. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.